Hi, when you think of Japanese cinema, you probably think of one of these films. Or maybe something like this. But hopefully, you also think of this. A film directed by this man, Yasujiro Ozu. Even if you haven't seen his films, you most likely have heard his name. He is easily one of the most prolific and influential filmmakers, not only of Japanese cinema, but in the world. You can see his influence in the films of Hirokazu Koreeda, a filmmaker who is referred to as Ozu-esque due to the similar themes of domestic life in his films and his use of the so-called polo shot. Jean Renoir, an acclaimed French film director, famously said, "A director makes only one film in his life, then he breaks it into pieces and makes it again." And nowhere is it more true than when talking about Ozu. He has even referenced the fact that his films can be construed as similar. Even if my films appear to all be the same, I am always trying to express something new, and I have a new interest in each film. I am like a painter who keeps painting the same rows over and over again. And it's very apparent when you watch his films, especially his post-war films, starting with Late Spring in 1949, where the style that he is known for today was developed. They all tackle similar themes: family, marriage, parenthood, the generational gaps between children and their parents, or children and their grandparents. At its core, domestic life in Japan, also known as shomengeki, or common people drama. When watching an Ozu film, the first thing you notice is his visual style. His camera is always at approximately the same height, reportedly 3 feet off the ground, mimicking the view of a person sitting on a tatami mat. In actuality, his camera was lower than that. He frequently uses frames within frames, allowing the viewer to easily identify the characters, as well as letting his incredible mise-en-scene shine. Ozu likes to place a teapot within certain scenes, almost as a director's trademark, a way to say to the audience, everything has been placed with thought. Continuity is not a word in Ozu's cinematic dictionary. He breaks all the conventional rules of cinematic form, but not in a malicious way. He does it almost playfully. He completely disregards the 180-degree rule, often cutting from one side of a conversation to the other, causing his characters to jump from one side of the screen to the other, which can cause confusion within the audience, as they do not know where the characters will be next and therefore do not know where to look. However, Ozu mitigates this confusion by using long takes and infrequent cuts, allowing the audience time to first process what has happened and subsequently settle into the shot and back into the scene. He also doesn't care about eye lines, his characters seemingly not talking to each other, at least visually. Especially when his camera jumps in between the characters. They stare directly into the camera talking to the audience and not the other character in the scene. Ozu makes use of elliptical storytelling, often omitting important story moments, like a wedding that the film has been building up towards, or not introducing important characters, such as Noriko's future husband, and only making reference to him in dialogue. Instead, Ozu likes to explore the events leading up to and the consequences afterwards through his characters. Like the rest of his stripped-down style, Ozu's editing was simple yet incredibly thought-through and meaningful. Besides for making use of ellipses, he never used dissolves or fades when transitioning from one scene to the next, or from one shot to the next. He only ever cut. His entire editing toolbox was just a simple cut, from one image to another, which created problems. How can you show the passage of time without dissolving or fading? And how can you transition from one scene to the next without it feeling abrupt and jarring? Will Ozu realize that the audience is intelligent, that they will be able to understand that time has passed naturally during the next scene through the shots, dialogue, and character action? Take this scene from Late Spring. Noriko has agreed to get married, which makes her aunt very happy. After questioning her about why she has decided to finally get married, Noriko's father is uneasy, and the mood between them is tense. We then are shown several shots of a landmark, each shot different but always moving closer. We then see a shot of traveling cases, followed by one of Noriko and her father. Immediately we can tell that something has changed through their body language. Noriko isn't upset anymore, and finally the father speaks. It's through this line that the audience realizes two things. Time has passed between the scenes, and that the characters have traveled somewhere. Ozu did all this by simply cutting between images, juxtaposing them to create meaning, and using dialogue to create clarity. These shots are known as pillow shots, and they are unique to Ozu. Pillow shots are shots that come at the beginning of a scene, and sometimes during a scene, of inanimate objects that seemingly hold no relevance to what is happening in the scene. I see them as a way to allow the audience time to digest what has just happened before being fed a new scene. Ozu uses them as his way of transitioning from one scene to the next without it feeling sudden, and they are an important contributor to the meditative pace of his films. Ozu's visual style is fixed, rigid. He doesn't change it, and that's the appeal. Watching an Ozu film becomes an exercise in familiarity, a familiar world, familiar characters, a familiar setting, or just a familiar feeling while watching. Like other directors that have a unique visual style throughout their filmography, watching an Ozu film is comforting. You know what you are watching and therefore know exactly what to expect. It is nice to be surprised, like when he decides to dolly through an empty theater, but at the same time, the reason you watch one of his films is to return to his world, to watch and listen to him tell a story, because no one is quite as good as he is. My name is Brandon. Thank you for watching.